Hello, everyone, and welcome to Between Two Peers, a live stream show where the hosts invite a guest from around the known world to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. This week is sponsored by Diet Coke because sometimes bad rum needs a buffer. So I am Tulia Alori. I am a Laurel from the West Kingdom, also a court baroness, and I'm also super psyched for tonight because we get to have two of my best friends on the show tonight. So I'm going to hand that over to my lovely guest co-host, Viscountess Syele, aka Songbird. Let her do her intro, and then we will intro our guest.
Hey, world, known world, wherever you are. I am Syele, the Songbird from the West Kingdom. Started in Eatonville, moved to the West some time ago. I absolutely love it here. It is incredible. I have been playing in the SCA for, I don't know, we'll say since last Tuesday, but it's probably more like a couple decades or so. And I'm really excited to be here again. Like Tulia said, two of my absolute favorite people on the planet are here tonight. And I'm really excited to share this time with you. So thanks for joining us. Tonight, our guest is my brother, Mistress Katla Lokisdottir, the Western Siren and Mistress of Mischief. She is excited about your questions, so I am going to hand it over to Katla to tell us a bit about yourself.
Hello, friends. I am Katla Lokisdottir. I'm Pelican and a Laurel in the West Kingdom, and sometimes I sing stuff.
Well, she also likes dogs.
My brother.
So we're going to get into that brother thing in a second because there's a whole story back there. But we're going to talk about our drinking game first. So remember that this can be anything you want to drink. It does not need to be alcohol. We don't judge. We welcome all beverages. So first order is when a host or guest uses a non-SCA name when referring to someone on the show, when someone's pet appears on the screen, when someone calls for a soapbox, when someone mentions spite sprinkles or toe beans, and the guest rule of the episode, Katla.
Is whenever Syele and I drink already. Whenever Syele and I call each other brother, this could get ugly.
Okay, so with that, we're gonna just roll right into the questions. The very first question we have is specifically for you, Katla. How did you find the SCA?
How did I find the SCA? Basically, I was hanging out with my cousin and some buddies in 1990, and they said, hey, there's this really groovy thing. Do you want to go? And I said, sure. And I went, and I never left.
That's kind of how it happens, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was my friends that dragged me along.
Like, you're one of the first people I remember meeting in the SCA.
Yeah, no, Ducal Prize 1990, I think, is when I actually got in.
Yeah, I remember you and that, not much else, weirdly. From that long ago.
Yep.
All right, next question, Syele.
Miss Katla, when you take on a volunteer position that requires a lot of your time and effort, how do you still find fun in your SCA play?
Oh man, no, you don't make that easy. Honestly, I mean, you derive fun from the fact that you're helping people do stuff, and other people get excited about the stuff you're doing, and then we lure more people in. So I mean, yeah, it's all about the doing and the sharing.
Yeah, and I think we mention that you're a Pelican and a Laurel, so you know a lot about the volunteering aspect of kind of both things.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So next question. This is the general question that Syele and I are also going to offer our answers to. So this first one's from Call. So we have two daughters of the two biggest gods in the Norse pantheon. Of course, I have to ask, which of the two do you think is the better parent, Thor or Loki? Okay, I'm exempting myself from this because this.
I'm gonna definitely say not Loki. I'm not very maternal, so I'm throwing it at Thor for this one because I don't think I would be a very good maternal kind of person.
Well, I have to say, I mean, brother.
Yes.
um, I think that you know, obviously, gender is a bit more fluid nowadays, but I consider both of us Odin's children. That is just not how the SCA allowed us to pass these names. So,
Right.
I mean, if we look at the triad of this, honestly, I think that we both probably would be orphaned and we'd be eating off of like Freya's table or something, because I don't think any of these folks are going to really take that great a care of us.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, I mean, come on. Like, they're like, oh, yeah, come on, Tyr, it'll be great. Just shove your hand down that wolf's throat. How'd that work out?
Not that great.
It's okay.
For example, Thor, I'm mad. Let's throw some lightning at it.
I'm mad. Let's cause a world-ending war.
Well, yeah, that would be super satisfying to have that ability. I mean, and that gives me kind of a weird little side question of that. Which one of the two, Loki and Thor, do you want the powers of?
Thor.
Loki.
Why?
You can multiply yourself,
Yeah.
Replaces your.
I literally want to fling lightning at people. That's why.
Syele's like, I don't know what's happening. I just really want to shoot lightning. Exactly.
I think the world would be a better place, actually, if I had this power.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I trust you implicitly to use it, fairly and
for potential good.
Yes,
Maybe.
Yeah.
Good S.
All right. So, Syele, the next question is yours to ask, not yours, yours to ask.
So, Constance, you get to go back in a time machine without screwing up the timeline. What is the thing you would bring back as a souvenir?
Souvenir.
Yeah.
Like, I know places where I'd want to go and want to be, but
anything you can bring back.
I'm thinking. Somebody. Okay.
You want to think, and
yeah, give me a second.
And I can.
Give me a second.
Okay. I'll take a stab at it. Let's see. If I could go back in a time machine without screwing up the timeline, what would I bring back as a souvenir? Well, I mean, aside from like the contents of the Library of Alexandria, I need a pretty big time machine for that. Or maybe what I could do is I could bring a device that could just like automatically download all of that information and just come back, on my magical futuristic cell phone. I would say if it's like an object,
just grab people.
like the Sutton Hoo hoard or something like that, like where there's just a really good hoard. I think I would bring back, just be like, check out all my riches.
Would you like roll around in it like a dragon?
Oh.
I would roll around. I would dive into it like Scrooge McDuck.
Okay.
All right, Katla, do you have an answer, or you want Ronnie to go?
No, right. I do. I would like to go. Okay, so troubadour nerd. I would like to go back and get the original drafted copy of the Comtesse de D's song Enchanté Mère.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because,
yeah. Actually, explain a little bit about that. So that was one of your primary areas of research, was this troubadour.
The troubadours, yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
It was the female troubadours of southern and northern France. This is northern Occitan.
That's southern France.
Occitan, yeah. And studying, there's like a bunch of extant poetry from those women, but there's only one extant piece of music, and that's the Comtesse de D's Enchanté Mère. And I came into it kind of sideways. I have to say that Antonio actually really supported me with getting into that kind of music. So yeah, it's my thing. I dig it.
Yeah. Syele?
David Bowie.
You just bring back David Bowie all over again.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
which David Bowie? Which iteration would we do? Like Thin White?
I mean, I think I'd have to go pretty early so that we could re-experience all of the different iterations of David Bowie.
Yeah.
Boys.
I was gonna say like, or you could just go. Isn't time like it's a recursive like loop? So you could just go back to different points and grab a Bowie from each one and have them all in the same room.
Can you imagine what kind of a party that would be like though?
That would be a really kick-ass party, or just, you know, actually cause the implosion of life and space and time.
Life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, like, if I had to pick, I think I would really want. So I think I'm struggling with this question, kind of like I think you were, Katla, because what I would want to do is have an experience. And what I would really love to experience is what Norse music actually sounded like.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like if I can pick something that is not an object, right? I would want to have that experience of understanding what that music sounded like, and really be able to sort of soak that in, like have that experience. I think so many of I am a much more experience driven person than I am a thing driven person. So that's probably where I would go with that. And so if I had to pick a thing from that, I would definitely want you know, an actual functioning instrument from that time that has like the tuning of the time that we could hear what they would have heard.
Yeah,
that's what I would pick. Also David Bowie.
And David Bowie.
Take David Bowie with you. Like make a pit stop, grab David Bowie, then go all the way back. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like it is a hard question to ask because I'm also like, if I could go back and do anything, I would want knowledge. I wouldn't want to bring a thing back. You know, that's kind of why the Library of Alexandria was like the first thing that came to mind, because it was thing and knowledge, but also it's mostly just all that stuff that we just don't know anymore, that we have to like extrapolate based on a source of a source of a source of a source, and like, you know, thousands of years of the game of telephone. To just cut to the chase and to be able to see all that and just experience it and be like, oh my God, we are so off. Like we are so far from it.
Yeah. I'm like, if it could be an experience, not a thing, there's a ton of things I would like to experience, but
Thorfinn actually posted the other day like an amazing picture from this Viking cultural night that we had, you know, years back at Estrella, and like those moments, like I think that's what people are really missing in the SE right now, is those moments of real connection, not only with each other but with the past as we're trying to kind of recreate it. Right. And that's why I'm like, I want to hear that music. Like I want to be in the hall and actually hear like the boasts and the toasts and, you know, and just understand it. Like, God, how amazing would that be? I want to watch Eleanor of Aquitaine freaking process down the road. I mean, you know, it could happen. This is kind of a wacky place I'm in, but, you know, it's stuff like that I really miss.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a great answer, actually, because it is hard to quantify. But so the next question, this one's from Catherine. How does what you've learned or experienced through the SCA influence or have crossover use in other hobbies or activities or just mundane life in general?
Me?
Yeah.
For me, I cross over. I mean, like I do out of period Irish trad stuff in the SCA, and I give zero fucks about it because it's fun.
Same.
But I've also done some gigging with some friends of mine in an Irish band, and they've let me sing a few times, and it's just like both experiences are so amazing. But I think I'd rather be singing in the SCA a lot of the time. The music crossover for me, since we are a relatively, what's the word I'm looking for? We tolerate all sorts of bardic stuff.
Bardic shenaniganry.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it, man.
Bardic shenaniganry.
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Syele?
Honestly, I think for me, I feel like it's almost a reverse question. I feel like I generally am pretty picky about the official officer roles I pick in the SCA because I tend to need to manage like work-life balance pretty heavily. So I am particular about where I can use my skills, and a lot of what I do mundanely, for those of you who don't know, is I'm an executive assistant at a large tech company, and I support a vice president who has over 1,000 folks across the globe doing support. So I run a very tight schedule. I basically help sort of keep the trains running in a lot of ways. And so for me, I find that my mundane life and my mundane work, I should say, really kind of helped inform some of the things that I've done in the SCA. Most of the jobs I've done, I've been a chronicler. I have headed courts. I was the first Kingdom social media officer for the West, which, by the way, the freaking current one, I don't know if you know her, but she is freaking amazing. Like, let's just sing her real quick.
I hear she's a total bitch and sucks at her job.
Well, I mean, you know, I guess it depends on who you ask, but I would punch the person that said that in the face. So, but I found that my skill set that I use to pay the rent did lend itself very well to some of the jobs that I chose to do in the society. And I think that depending on what you like doing in the society, it could potentially inform where you really want to spend your time, right? As far as what your job is. So I would encourage folks, if you are feeling like you're in a questionable place as far as what you're actually doing mundanely, you might look at what you've enjoyed doing in the SCA and see if that can perhaps inform you as to something that might fill your heart with a little bit more joy and in your day-to-day. Yeah. Which I think is a roundabout way of answering the question, but that's what I got.
I was going to actually say something almost like kind of the reverse of where you were, which is because of the SCA, I've learned how to advocate for myself and to have a voice in my day, you know, my day-to-day life. And that was something that doesn't. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm like a shrinking violet or anything like that. I'm not, but I learned how to value my own voice. I think that's really what I'm trying to say. I learned the value of my own identity, my own voice, my own contribution through the SCA, and I was able to take that confidence and translate that into like my day-to-day job or my day-to-day interactions with people. I mean, I still struggle with it. I think I still have an easier time advocating for myself in the SCA than I do outside of it, but it's a smaller group, and I think that that's a little bit more reassuring to stand up for yourself than in a very large, cool, scary life. So yeah, I think that was my answer. It's sort of similar to your, Syele, which is just that you learn these skills in both worlds, and they do inform one another, and it's it's a give and take. A lot of times it's like, oh, I learned how to do time management skills in my day job, so I could take that and translate that into how to run a court, or how to set up a spreadsheet. So that will allow me to do whatever it is that we use spreadsheets for it. Mostly organizational skills.
Everything.
I know, like other stuff, but running those kind of things. Like if you've got a head for numbers in one world, you can do it in the SCA. Like if you've got ability to work with people outside, and you see this a lot actually being used as the SCA being used as a on a resume, saying like, this is my. Or when you're in an interview, like, this was a time that I had difficulty with somebody and then I was able to do this. And you've got to make like little translations to make sure that it doesn't come up. I stood up in Moral Council and I told the king to go F himself, like that.
Well, also, you don't want to be like, so I'm in this weird medieval cult.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Day...
We'll ease into the details about that, but you know, those interpersonal interactions.
It's always that kind of, I work for a nonprofit educational society, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yup.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true though, and it's hard too. Like I think a lot of people get excited about what they're doing in the SCA, as well they should. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but it is a kind of a special art in and of itself as to how to translate that into something that someone doesn't look at and go, oh God, they do what on the weekend? Like
I actually have a funny story from a friend from Ren Fair. I'm just going to tell it real quickly, even though I see we're over the 5 minutes, Carius. He's giving us the 5-minute warning. Thank you. We're all pretty. That's the next thing he flashes is you're all pretty. But I had a friend who for many, many years was queen at one of the major Renaissance fairs here in California. And so her photo is all over the place. Like it was plastered on billboards and everything. And she said that somebody came in to interview. Oh, no, that's what it was. She was interviewing for a job. And she goes to meet the boss of the company, and sitting on the boss's desk is a photograph of presumably the boss's kid and her as Queen Elizabeth. Nice. And she's just sitting there like, please don't realize that, do not make that connection. Like, right. No,
this is her. Like,
exactly.
I have a mustache now.
Yeah. Thankfully, I think there's her is drastically different than the Queen Elizabeth getup, but I'll never forget that, where she's just like eyeing the picture and like, please don't realize. It's a lot of questions.
He's like, oh, I forgot my glasses.
Yeah. All right. So should we move to next question? I think this one's yours, Syele, number 4.
Nice. So I actually really dig this one. Katla, you're up first. What is your favorite part of being a consort?
The love. I mean, regardless of whether it's a friend or your partner, the love and the relationship that you have between you and your fighter, and knowing what each person needs. You don't even have to talk about the day of. You already know what they need and whether they want to be talked to or left alone. It's like a very symbiotic kind of thing. It's just, and it's fun. You get to sit there and look all pretty, and people, he bows before he fights and all that jam. So yeah, I think it's the whole symbiotic. We kind of share a brain gig, and it's been happening for a long time. So
that was something that kind of caught me off guard, because as you both know, I didn't consort until I was 25 some odd years into my SCA experience. I had never consorted. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, like, my buddy, Thorfinn, is like, hey, you want to do this thing? And I was like, okay. Like, at first I thought it was a joke. And then the more we thought about it, more we talked about it, it was like, actually, that could be kind of fun. But it was really an interesting experience to be, for the kind of first time, to really realize how much a consort deals with, and how much you're visible, but you're not. It's a sort of an interesting there but not scenario. And honestly, Syele was a huge help shepherding me through all of these early tournaments where I was just losing my tiny little mind constantly, because I'm standing there with my arms folded and looking pissed, and she's like, uncross your arms. And I'm like, my arms aren't crossed. And she's like, yes, they are. And looking down and being like, shit, okay.
All about policing the face.
Yeah, exactly. You learn how to smile while internally screaming. Yes. But that's not my favorite part. Thank God that's not my favorite part. But I think my favorite part is it is getting to be part of the story, to getting to play a part in the story, and in this particular part of the story. Now, it's not the only story in the SCA. It's not the only story that's going on at that time, but it is a part in a story that I'd never actually been a part of before. So I felt suddenly like I get cast in a cool role, and I like that. I think that that's really kind of cool, and being able to I guess, inspire somebody.
Mhm.
That's a neat feeling. So Syele, what do you think?
I mean, it's kind of, it's a weirder question, like when you ask someone who actually like kind of got the job.
Yeah.
I think because the things that I thought about consorting before Rorik won are actually different than the things I think about it now.
Sure.
It was originally very much kind of like what you said, having the part in the story and the love, like, and someone, I think Lori, you posted in the chat, sorry, like I can't look at someone's mundane name and then not like remember their SCA
It's
name at
okay.
the same
It's only
time,
for the
so
show.
I'm sorry, but Morgan, like you're right, like the salute, you know, like it's such a thing, and it means so much to me, like, and part of why I fell in love with the idea of the SCA was that kind of like Arthurian ideal. And I think that for me, it like being able to be kind of a part of that tapestry that we're all weaving together is really incredibly important. The thing that you learn once you step down from a job that you get from having that role is the understanding that you can still be an inspiration to others without, it's kind of hard to describe because I think like a lot of me has been thinking about this while we've all been on hiatus. Like you don't have to ever actually do the job to be the inspiration that you think of as royal peers being. Like you don't actually have to ever even get close to brighten someone's day and make them smile. And I think that it sounds easy for me to say that because I have gotten to do it. But that's kind of something I wish I had told like my younger consorting self. So I'm sharing that sort of advice sort of out there with you guys because I do think that it's an important distinction to make. But my absolute favorite thing, like I said, is, you know, when he goes out and he salutes and it's funny. Rorik is totally like, he's like, oh, I'm going to fight. I got my armor on. I got this job to do. I'm going to go out, do it as efficiently as possible. And then I'm done. And like, it's cool. And I'm always over there like, but I love you so much. And he's all like, yeah, it's great. You know, like fighty. But for me, that was just that was always it. It was like I want to walk up with, you know, either my friend, my my partner, whatever it is, in front of the king and queen, and I want them. The thing that I always tell people is like, remember, today it does not. It literally has zero meaning who wins the day. To the entire world, that day you are your consort's queen.
Invocation.
Yeah.
Invocation and introductions.
Invocation's always fun.
It's not about who, I mean, obviously it's about who wins it. That's how things go on and things change. But you, that person who is walking out there, be they, you know, whoever they are, and, you know, they are saying to the world, this is my inspiration and this is who I would have inspire all of you today. And that to me, like that act alone is more meaningful in a lot of ways than the actual act of winning and receiving those accolades in some way. So
that's a really good way of saying kind of what I was trying to say. Weird. I mean, we share a brain and she's usually got the words better than I do. So
like someone walked out there and said, do you see this freaking Tulia right here? Like, what? She would be a kick-ass queen. And you know what? I'm going to fight for her. Yeah. I mean, I don't fight her, I do it. But but that's what it is. Like when you watch all these people, and it could be like a guy or a lady or whoever, like a person walked out and they started fighting. They got authorized like that morning. And they're like, today, in my mind, this person is who I would have. You know, I want to have this moment of sharing them with you. Like,
it's actually kind of humbling.
It is.
Yeah.
There's actually, I remember something that's always stuck with me. I remember Havek won for Ginevra the second time, and I was there at that crown tournament. And I remember as he was holding the wreath, he said something that always stuck with me, which is that he has always felt blessed by the kingdom, and he felt oftentimes that he had little to give back. And so he offered the greatest thing that he could, and that was his family.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it, like, that resonated with me. He's like, I'm giving this person to you, right? And we all know, like, sometimes people are going to win that you might not love, right? Or I might not love, or, you know, they might do good. Or sometimes people, I mean, I like to think that everybody tries to do their best, but like, when in that moment when he was like, this is the thing that I feel like I can give back, right? I'm giving you my family, like, this is everything I have.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, you know, and that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yep. I think that's pretty much sums it up for me. Katla, do you have any other thoughts, or should we move on to the next question?
Let's move on.
Okay.
That
I'm sitting there now just like kind of soaking that up. So it's okay. That's gonna be hard to like refocus there.
I expound. That might have been a soapbox for me.
It might have been a soapbox.
Consorting is kind of a soapbox for
That's
me.
probably a soapbox. We're gonna call that a soapbox. Not usual, like, you know, Helga level. Just
no, it was a gentle soapbox.
It was definitely a more chill soapbox, but I think
it was a loving soapbox.
It was a loving soapbox. Yes.
It's like a bath bomb.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna soak in this.
I don't have that. I don't have soapboxes. I have bath bombs.
I like that. I like that. All right. So this next question's from Asa. What do you do when you're stuck on a piece that you're writing? Does your approach change if there are deadlines involved?
Dab it.
Wow. Honestly, I mean, if I work best under pressure, which is why half the time, if I was doing bard stuff, I would write the piece like 15 minutes before court and just roll through it a couple times. But sometimes when it's like something I did the other day, I got to step back and take a break from it. See how it goes, spew it out, take a break, come back and be like, oh God, this fucking sucks. And then go forth and rewrite what I can rewrite. But no, I like doing stuff under pressure because then it's like, oh God, I gotta get it done. So yeah.
Syele?
I think it depends for me, like, on what I'm trying to accomplish and whether or not there is a deadline, obviously. So I feel like most artists, you know, and I've talked to lots of artists in different forms. If you have a deadline, it literally creates an endpoint. So you have to get there, right? And you have I can only fuck off for so long, which I'm really good, by the way, at fucking off.
Oh, me too.
And, you know, procrastination, depending on what the thing is, I wanted to make a new song for the Valkyrie tournament at Great Western War, the last year that we had Great Western War. And I had some ideas, and some ideas that had been given to me by some of the ladies of the Rose who were hoping to kind of have a different song for the thing. And actually the thing that ended up giving me the ability to write the piece, and I wrote it like at 1 a.m. in my camp the night before, it was amazing, was I went walking around the site and I listened to people singing, and I like just kind of vibed with, you know, what was going on around me, which that really helped that particular piece. Honestly, a lot of times, like, and this is the most frustrating thing, is you're just sitting there and you're like waiting for this inspiration, and you know, you can listen to all of the music that you think it might sound like in the world, and sometimes it just sounds completely different. You know, sometimes you just have to, like Katla just said, get out of your head, you know, for a little bit and walk away from it. It's a hard thing, you know. And I think, like, one time I literally went and played a video game for 6 hours. I was like, I'm having nothing to do with this. I'm getting as far possible, you know, as possible away from this thing, right? I just need to get get out of here, and it'll happen when it happens. And after that, I was all like, oh, well, I guess I can work on this again. That's fine. And it came together. But, so I think everybody's artistic process is kind of its own thing. And sometimes you just got to like break you start getting so mad at yourself, right? You're like, oh my God, why can't I just write this thing? Like, I've written 100 things. Why is this thing so hard? Right? Why is this piece so hard? And a lot of times, if it's why is this piece so hard? It's because you're trying to do something for somebody or a thing that you love or really care about. And if it's something you love or somebody you really care about, like, by the way, Kat, this was your song.
I love that song so much.
I'm like, I tried writing that song, I think a good 15 times before it landed on something. And I was like, at one point,
she wrote me a song for my elevation to Laurel. And it's an amazing song. I cried. Really good.
Thorfinn cried too. But like, he always cries. But sometimes you just have to like put it down for a while and walk away from it, and then come back to it and be like, okay, like what do you want to be? Like, and how do we want to get there? But taking that sort of walk, as I like to call it, like walking away from it, taking a walk, getting your brain off it for a while, like you come back and you might have some new perspective, is usually what I try and do.
Right. I mean, at this point, I keep running lists on my iPhone of inspiration ideas, tunes on my voice memo that I've written. So I kind of go through, I'm like, okay, what do I want to play with this time? And start seeing what my notes say and which tunes I might want to use. And so, yeah, be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared. Or like, just cleanse your palate. Go listen to some hard metal music.
Yes.
Yeah, that also helps. Sorry, my cat is roaming around trying to eat bits of food that I apparently dropped and I didn't realize. I think my answer is exactly that. It's sometimes you just got to put distance between yourself and the thing you're working on, whether it is real creative pursuit or honestly any activity. I've heard fighters talk about this where they work and work and work on a particular shot and it just it's not clicking. And then they have to walk away from it. You have to just set it down, kind of physically put the sword down, go do something else for a while. And that's oftentimes where the brain catches up to the rest of, the rest of your system kind of integrates itself. I think I've talked about it on the show before. There was I think it was Radio Lab. I want to say it was like a Radio Lab show podcast on NPR a number of years ago that had this talked about the benefits of just like taking a nap or like sleeping on it. When you're trying to learn something new, you're trying to put your 10,000 hours in of work on a particular, art or craft or activity. And this happens to everybody. You hit a wall. And so whoever they are, scientists or something, Curious is back there like, yes, preach it. They studied this phenomenon of going to bed, like sleeping on it and waking up the next morning, and then how that oftentimes things had clicked while you were sleeping. And I don't know why that works, but it does. It actually is kind of this weird, like magical thing about the human brain. And also you can kind of do the same thing just by putting it down and walking away from it, just doing another activity, playing a video game for 6 hours, taking a walk, petting the cat who suddenly has shown up to say, hi everybody, this is Ray. Okay, Ray doesn't really want to be a lap kitty right now, but whatever. And yeah, so that's my, but it's also important not to just beat yourself up over it, because that'll stymie you harder. Yeah, so I guess we have to drink because Kitty showed up.
Farting is hard.
Mm-hmm. Arting is not for the faint of heart.
The worst thing you can do, especially if you're trying to write something, and a lot of my pieces have been either praise pieces for folks on special occasions or also anthems for baronies and principalities. The worst thing you can do to yourself is like start beating yourself up about how it's not coming together. Because if you're trying to approach the thing that is supposed to be praising from a space of kind of mental negativity, like you're basically fucked, dude. You
Exactly.
gotta like do a hard reset somehow.
Yeah.
Hi, niece.
Yeah, this is Ciela's tiny niece or tinies.
Tiny.
Ray, my little baby girl.
She's so cute.
The noodle's still around. So anyone who's wondering, he's actually passed out on the couch, doing a throw pillow reenactment. He's very good at that. So
Wolfman's got a bath today, so Mom's been brushing him out.
Oh no.
It's hard work for a noodle. I mean, that's a true high art form.
Yeah.
Like he's so good at it.
She also hears the turkeys in our backyard, and she is not having any of this turkey business. That is not cool. She did those birds. No,
those birds are like 5 times the size of her.
I know. She hears them doing their little, weird noises out there, and kind of like fly. They roost in the trees in our backyard, and FYI, turkeys can fly. If you didn't know that, it's kind of terrifying. She's taken a couple of looks at him and just been like, nope, and not cool. Anyways, so move on to the next question. I think that's number 6. Oh, you know what? Let's do a commercial break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hailing from the barony of Skraeling Althing in the Kingdom of Eldermere, Baron Duncan MacLeod specializes in creating items of functional beauty. He currently has a number of hand-carved wooden spoons available in a variety of sizes, shapes, and styles. Each item is lovingly handcrafted by Baron Duncan and are presentable in any SCA or other historic reenactment context. Don't see anything that speaks to you? Baron Duncan can create a custom piece for you. Spoons aren't all that Baron Duncan creates. Did you know that he also makes handmade combs? Almost everybody needs to comb their hair. Do it with a comb you can be proud to show off. Message him on Facebook today.
Hey, you out there. Do you love learning things about gaming?
We've got that.
What about interviews with knights, tactical word advice, or practical guidance on how to be better on and off the field?
Yep, we've got that.
What about history? Crazy tales from wizened kings of old? Stories of grace from the roses of inspiration?
Yeah, got that too.
What about opinions? Caffeine? Or just amazing chats with some awesome people?
You bet.
What about book breakdowns, deep dives, and some serious toe bean touching?
Oh yeah, all this and more.
Here at Cowbar's Corner and KK Productions, we specialize in getting you the premium content that you need and deserve.
But wait, do you have an idea for a show? Always wanted to dive into creating content for your fellow medieval enthusiasts? Guess what? We do that too.
Check out all that we have to offer, either on Cowbar's Corner or any of our affiliated channels. Or reach out to us with your ideas. Let's make them happen.
Don't forget to like and subscribe on all our channels. Smash the like button below. And of course, show the Sassy Seamstress and Danger Muppet your love.
I am Calvert Geiler, and I approve this message.
Between Two Peers proudly presents Merkheim Horde. Merkheim Horde offers high-quality, handmade Viking Age jewelry. All items are made individually and not mass-produced. Woven chains are woven in choices of sterling silver, fine silver, and 14-karat gold filled wire, and they can be custom-made to your desired length. Arm rings are made in bronze and can be made to your desired size. Merkheim Horde strives to deliver the highest customer service available. We offer repairs for any items that suffer damage, and if repair is not an option, a replacement will be made. Be sure to visit their website. That website is merkheimhorde.com or facebook.com/merkheimhorde.
Hello and welcome back. So where we left off, Syele, that's going to be your question, number 6.
I see this. We have got a question from Antonio. What
Not
was
your
most-
Antonio.
Okay.
Not your Antonio.
Oh,
Antonio the different.
gotcha.
What was your most memorable time at an event where absolutely nothing went to plan? And what did you take away from that experience?
Oh, I know which one that is. What was it? Estrella the year before last when it turned into giant mud pit from hell, and I swear to God I was never going to Estrella again. Oh my God.
Estrella.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got there, we're like, yay, we got all set up, and then you're sleeping overnight, and you're like, oh, it's so nice, it's raining on the tent. Then you wake up in the morning and like, there's some standing water, and then it just keeps going and going and going, and it's mud, and I just, we were like, fuck this. We went and got a hotel room, assuming we would come back, we would get a shower and all that jazz, and we'd come back to camp. No, when we eventually got back to camp, there was standing water like in the tent and stuff.
Oh man.
And it was so muddy. I guess people had like put down pallets to walk on. That wasn't working. I'm like, nope, I'm sinking up to my ankles in mud. So yes, as much as I love war, that one was special. We went home.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Antonio.
It sounded like apocalyptic. Yeah, we didn't go that year. We went last year, and that was not as bad, but it was like a tiny taste of how shitty 2019 was.
Right? Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I don't think I'm doing this again. If this is how it's going to be, because global warming, all that,
Although,
I don't know if
I'm looking forward to the possibility of the autumn one.
Yeah.
Which
that's a possibility.
I don't know. Do you still have monsoons then? I don't know. But yeah.
Neither does Arizona.
Huh?
Yeah, I know. Arizona.
Right.
Apparently either like blisteringly hot and dry or like underwater. Who knows?
Yep.
So what was your takeaway though? Did you have like a takeaway from that, an experience where you're like,
yeah, don't fucking camp when it's going to be like a torrential downpour. That's pretty much my takeaway. No, it was kind of cool. I felt bad because like everybody else was having like a good time, like Vera, Her Majesty, and everybody in camp were like, yeah, we're cool. We're walking on the pallets. Screw it, it's wet. We've got places to sit under. And I am just such a wuss that I was like, no, take me home.
Yeah.
Take me to a hotel room and feed me pizza, which is essentially what we did.
So we did that last year too. That was exactly kind of because it just was just enough water to flood the West Camp. We had the presence of mind to not camp there. We were camping a little bit on higher ground, and but we still got wet and muddy really bad. So yeah, Saturday we were like, let's just go into town and get a hotel room.
I am a delicate flower if it's cold and damp.
Same girl, same. All right, Syele, what's your answer?
I mean, so there's a saying that Atenvelt shares from time to time. Let me see if I can recollect it correctly, as I did start playing Atenvelt. It is Atenvelt is where the gods test the faithful, and Estrella seems to be their primary crucible.
Yes.
So mine, like I've actually, one of my very first, was either my first or second Estrella ever, ended up, it was at Estrella Mountain Park still, and it was flooded, where like I was with the Lunch Connect at the time, and there were folks who were floating down a little creek that appeared in the middle of our camp on their air mattresses, which they were fine. They were still drunk from the night before, so they were just like,
makes sense.
Oh look, I got the shirt and I'm trying to make a paddle, right? So I always knew that Estrella was very, like, you can have cold Estrella, wet Estrella, or windy Estrella, and those were kind of the three things, back when I started. But I think that my sort of nothing went to plan was probably the Estrella we went to, and it was funny because it started out so amazing. I think that's actually the Estrella that picture I talked about of Kelly's from Norse Cultural Night was taken. I know we did have a Norse Cultural Night that year, and we were having such a great time, and a huge windstorm came through.
Yep, that was that
like
one.
it shattered like Rorik and I had well, theoretically we still have it, we just never use it. We had a huge 9-board Viking A-frame, and it's heavy. Like we used it as a sunshade generally, but we were using it as our tent, and the wind was enough that it shattered the boards that were like, you know, stuck together with metal. I mean, it brought down whole encampments. I mean, and the interesting thing that I took away from the event was watching how everybody came together. And that's something actually that I heard a lot about, because Rorik was at the really wet Estrella, the last one that happened, because our former squire Wolfgrim got knighted. And so of course he was going to go out, and I was originally going to go out with him, and honestly I'm so freaking glad I didn't. You know, like people were hanging out under the big barn, but people all came together, you know, to like baronies lost their baronial pavilions. Like I think one of the Atenvalt royal pavilions came down. You know, and there was lots of damage that was done, and we all know that this isn't an inexpensive hobby, you know. So I think that the thing that I came away from it with was really our sense of community, because people wanted to help one another. And so people who are left kind of without shelter or without, you know, people had, you know, the wind actually knocked over a bunch of people's ice boxes, I guess, in one camp. And so like their coolers got knocked over, and that was all their food. You know, and depending on sort of your level of like comfort in the world, like, you know, that could be a huge loss, you know. So you see people out there like helping to clean up the debris, helping to feed other people, helping to make sure everybody's warm, helping to make sure that people are have a safe place to sleep in as much comfort as they can get. And what I took away was like, you know, things can get pretty crappy out there. You kind of never know what Mother Nature is going to do. By the way, especially in fucking Arizona. Wow. Just want to throw that out there. Right. But you see the goodness of people when they come together and help support each other. So I was like, I was happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think that's my answer too, is that it's when the things go really bad, you find out that how much of a community you really are. Because I've seen it more often than not, people set aside their differences of opinion and band together and try to get everybody safe and fed and sheltered, because you know it is with a group that does outdoor events and outdoor camping, there's bound to be extreme weather at some point, and I've when Kat, you'll remember in the 90s in Sinagua when it was like the El Nino years in the 1990s. But it was the
way back.
It was like this crazy weather pattern. It reoccurs periodically.
Was that when the 12th night when the Highway 99 got shut down because it was so much water?
Yeah, then there was the other 12th night about 10 years ago where it was so windy it was blowing over the Yolo overpass in Sacramento. They were blowing big rigs over. Like I was passing by and there were just, you know, these everywhere, these jackknifed big rigs. But the one instance I'm thinking about in particular was there was a series of events in it was like 1994-5 around that time, and the events, every single event was getting canceled because of extreme weather. Like we had a March Crown that flooded out so badly that we couldn't use the site. We had to scramble to find another site. You know, we had that was Gardener's Cove, which is a really great site. It was a really great site, but it belongs now to the San Joaquin River. We can never have it again. Another one around that time, maybe a year or so later, was hurricane weather, like of all things, in the middle of, the Central Valley in California, where we're not really known for our hurricanes, but we're known for some pretty close. And that event, that was a May coronet that got shut down pretty damn quickly when all hell broke loose. But yeah, those are always the interesting stories of everybody running after the one tent that floats away. So that's the community spirit that the SCA brings.
I went to an event in the barony of Granite Mountain a few years back, and we were sitting around, and it was this beautiful like paw themed event. And I remember like it was a beautiful day, and out of nowhere, and this is in northern Arizona, I'm telling you, Arizona has it out for people. We basically got tiny tornadoes that just like whipped through the site, and one of them brought an entire freaking tent down and whacked, like there was the lady who had been the inspiration of last year's tournament. We were sitting in the gallery doing like, gallery things, gallery stuff. And the freaking pole came down and whacked the poor girl right in the middle of the forehead. We had to take her to, someone had to run her to the hospital, and like, these entire tents are just ripped to shreds because they were and they were staked down. I mean, and everything was staked properly. Like it was just like, well, hey, a tornado just showed up. That's great. I mean, technically it was probably more like a dust devil, but I was like, if the air is trying to kill you, that's a fucking problem.
Right.
That one May coronet I just talked about, that was one of the, I think I'd had my pavilion probably about a year or so. And our pavilion was one of the only ones that stayed up. So, and that pavilion's still going strong. Yeah, that was Four Seasons Tent Smiths. I got that pavilion for my 16th birthday because my mom said you can have a car or a pavilion. And little Tulia, who was all hard into the SCA from day one, was like, pavilion, duh. So, but yeah, that thing's still going. It's on its second owner, and it's 25 years old now or something like that. I don't know, math is hard.
I'm sorry, I keep making faces because my back hurts, and I'm like,
oh, okay, well, all right, let's talk about something else to distract you for a second.
I'll look at
it. So this one's from Gwen. What caused you to fall in love with your art or fighting or service?
Okay. My dad sang light opera back east, and my mom was always in choirs. And the first memory I have of someone recording me was when I was 3 years old. So I've been singing as long as I can talk. And when I first started, hearing about the SCA and going and stuff, it was really because of Irish and Scottish traditional stuff that I was hearing until I got to know other people better, other bards and stuff. And again, it was still a lot of the trad stuff, and then we got into the stuff that's actually being written by SCA people, for SCA people, about SCA people. But when I really discovered period music, I was like, this is bitchin'. This is good stuff. So yeah, so it was that whole thing of read everything I can on the subject, and then start singing all the things that I can, even though my accent's terrible. Terrible. I got to work on that so bad. When it comes to
Irish?
No, that's fine. It's
I heard you sing Gaelic.
Period stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Like again, Antonio was a definite factor in getting me into period music. He was very supportive about it. So, yeah.
How about you, Syele?
Well, I mean, I kind of fell in love with like singing Irish trad songs and drinking songs around the campfire with my friends in Aytonville. And then I learned, I met some of the ladies who were part of the Lunch Connect. So I learned a lot of the German kind of mercenary songs that were very popular.
I need to learn more of those.
They're really fun. We should sing some of them. It'd be a really great time. I actually owe those boys a class so that they have a lot of new Lunch Connect and not as many who remember the songs. And they used to sing them as they were marching out to the field. So I started there, and I kind of I was having fun with it. And actually Uther got me to compete. He was visiting because Duke Edward had won his first crown for for OSA, and he got me to compete in the Bard of the Sun competition, and I won it, and it was eye-opening, like that there was this whole other aspect of singing in the SCA.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was really interesting to me, like the whole not only creating works of praise, but also sort of documenting some of the history of what we have going on. I think that that's part of what being a bard in the SCA is.
I had never really written my own songs before the SCA, like, and then being Bard of the West was kind of like, oh, now I have to do this all the time. So that was definitely
it gives you, but it gives you, like, it is a big job, but it also gives you like sort of those automatic prompts.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make the writing easier necessarily, but it does mean that there are certain benchmarks that you have to hit. Right. I am expected to do X, right? I am at this time, you know, you have that sort of framework built out for you. But you know, I loved it. It was interesting. It was an interesting difference because, like, for Bard of the Sun, I was 1 crowns bard. Whereas for Bard of the West, you end up being 3s. I can honestly, I liked being 1. You know, like working closely with them was really epic. You know, but you know, it for me, it was that, and also, like, you know, growing up, like, my mom sang all the time, right? And so singing was sort of part of something I shared with her, which hurts sometimes now that she's not with me anymore, but like it still is something that she gave me and something that we shared. So I'll always credit her with my voice.
Yeah, I think I like the community. You know, it's one thing to be really into something creatively on your own, and it can, you know, a lot of times that's how people get introduced to costuming in particular. It's something that you kind of do on your own. And then you discover other people who are also doing it, but you're not really doing it together in the same place. So when I discovered the SCA, it was right around the time that I was getting really, really excited about clothes, historical clothes, research. And I think that really gelled for me was that I was amongst people that got it, that understood that you know, instead of just being like, why do you want to make that dress? Where are you ever going to wear it? You know, like, what's the purpose of wasting all of this time and money on something you can only wear like once or whatever? It was, you know, people were like, yes, make that dress, do that thing. That's really cool. And look at the thing I made. And, you know, sharing and getting excited about that was really a kind of a real turning point for me creatively, was to have that community that the SCA provided with, which was the enthusiasm, and music the same way. Like, you know, Katla, and Syele too, we all come from these backgrounds where I think we were singing as soon as we could talk. Like, it's just music, just kind of mouths open, blah, song came out. And it's funny you should mention that, Kat, because I had this one very early memory of my, you know, singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm and my parents recording it on, you know, a cassette tape. Like, I still have it somewhere. And you want to hear little Tulia, Old MacDonald had a farm, like really rocking out. Like,
mine was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So
yeah.
When I was 3. So
the soundtrack for Annie, that was my life.
All the time.
When I was about 4, I memorized The Sun Will Come Out.
I had a Strawberry Shortcake album.
I love the Strawberry Shortcake album. Yeah. But yeah, but to have that community where it was accepted, it wasn't just a, you know, well, there's that weird girl who's singing show tunes again. Or whatever, you know. Suddenly I walk into Dark Claw, you know, as a teenager, and I meet Katla first, like, kind of out of the gate, and they have this big bardic culture in which music and bardic is really, really welcomed and celebrated. And I was just welcomed right in. They were just like, oh, hello, young teenage person, come right in, sit down, sing this song. And they were always incredibly supportive. And so it really allowed the creative side to flourish. So
I think also there's something to be said for people who understand why you hate the thing that you do,
Yeah.
that you profess to love, where you can go, hey, I just need to tell you how much I hate the fact that I need to write this song by next Tuesday.
Yes.
And you're like, I have been there 8 million times, girl, talk to me.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you feel the struggle.
Yeah.
And the
All
success.
So the next question, this one, Syele, is you.
Oh no, it's this one.
I know.
So this is from Rebecca. If you could, by fiat, make one SCA policy change, what would it be?
All right, you're gonna have to let me think about this for a minute because I'm like,
oh no,
dude.
No, you're on the spot, dude.
Yeah,
Brother.
She gonna. Oh, you want to? Brothers, you guys got to.
Yeah, that's right. Can we make "Don't Be a Dick" a policy change? I don't know.
I know, right? That's right.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Julia, do you have one?
I could go on. I mean, like, yeah, let's start.
I'm thinking.
I think
let's create one together.
I mean, it's so subjective though. Like, I may think I am not a dick, but you may be like, no, she is a total dick.
A dick according to me.
To be fair, one is very rarely 100% a dick.
The categorization of dickery.
Let's see how many times we can use words.
Shall be codified and acknowledged by all. And should you fail?
Let's see. I think a policy change. A policy change. This is hard.
No, I know. I'm like, I don't.
People are approving though in the chat of my codification of dickery.
Yeah.
I'm part of committee, you guys. If you want to be on it, let me know.
I think the committee to abolish dickery in the SCA.
To issue dickery in the SCA.
The Anti-Dickery League.
Yes. I like that. We're keeping that one.
That's right. It's my new household. I just created it. You guys are members.
Yay.
Don't be dicks and leave.
I think for me, if I were to make a policy change, I would make, are we talking like SCA specific or kingdom specific?
Right.
Because there's a million things I would change in the kingdom. I would be like,
the letter of the question is one SCA policy change, but I believe we could dial it into the West.
I think we have to, because the SCA is such a broad con, seizing up on it a little bit. But I think for me, I would totally do the thing I recently ranted about on Facebook. I would institute a grant level award for arts, fighting, and service.
We were just talking about that. Yes.
Yeah, I would actually make that a thing, because it's not a thing currently in the West Kingdom.
Absolutely.
And I think it needs to be, because we need to have that journeyman level, that midway, that marker, where people can be like, I got this one award in the, that's an AOA level award, and I got that like 3 years in, and nothing until 100 years later, and I'm still doing the thing. Yeah, so I think it needs to be.
Here's where I disagree with your premise, which is pretty rare, by the way, guys.
Yeah, this is very rare. Very rare.
What I think could actually be more effective than throwing another piece of fruit into our award fruit salad is the fact that we are not effectively utilizing the branch level awards that we have, because people start looking at, oh, well, we're going to a kingdom event, so do they have a rose leaf? Right. And by the way, princes and princesses, because they are given the ability to give rose leaves, sometimes, a lot of times, and by the way, I was guilty of this too at times, they don't always check to see if this person has the principality level arts award, for example. So theoretically, if you start in a barony, right, there's going to be a baronial arts award. Then there's going to be a Principality Arts Award. Now, obviously, things are a little I should say a little sketchy in the marches, but things are a little sketchy in the marches.
I was going to say, because that really makes it hard for the marches.
Yes, but and so in some cases, your proposed solution is correct. But what we actually need to do along with that is make better utilization of the 1,973 awards that exist that people aren't looking at.
Yeah.
Because there should be a progression, right?
I'm not saying that. I'm not going to like derail this comment, and you and I can of course all we'll all talk about it in great gory detail, I'm sure later. But in reality, like the problem that I've run into with the way that the grant level, so we don't really have we do, but we don't. There's like this weird area where some activities still have a grant level, while it used to be that other activities had a grant level award that got reduced to an AOA or was just done away with entirely. Like the Poppy, which was a championship that carried with it a grant, that no longer exists in the West. And then as I just found out recently, the Western Lily used to have a grant with it, and then it was stripped of the grant level by my boyfriend, actually, in one of his reigns. I keep meaning to actually ask him about that. Why was that done? But the other activities like thrown weapons still has kind of a grant, or is it thrown weapons or?
No, it's
archery.
So the West is so hard to have this conversation about because so much stuff is grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm. What should be happening is
archery has one, equestrian has one. They closed the white scarf, so fencing doesn't have one now.
But see, it was being used as kind of a consolation peerage, and in a lot of ways it was sort of a, oh, here you go, rapier, you're never going to get a peerage, and then rapier got a peerage.
That's not. I don't think that's actually true though. Like, what?
Sorry, my cat just like freaked out and fell in a box. Anyway.
Which butt was that? But it was. I think that saying that the white scarf was a consolation is not. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of kingdoms that would really.
Oh yeah, for sure they would. But
totally disagree there. Sure.
Yeah. It has a fraught history with the idea of rapier, but that's history.
True. I don't know that throwing more awards in is going to fix anything really. But it could maybe. I don't know. I could be totally wrong.
Hey, can I start some shit real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
If we're doing just Kingdom, can I say that we need one of those 3-day weekends?
One of those what?
3-day weekend events.
Yes. Oh.
I agree. Yeah, I know exactly what shit you're talking
about. Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But honestly, if we were doing like a West specific, I'd say 2 reigns a year.
Oh, that's exactly the other one I was going to say. 6-month reign.
Yeah. I do 2 reigns a year.
I agree with you on that.
You're burning people out
so
much, like when you are having 3 reigns a year because you're just leaning on the same people all the time.
Yeah. I mean, also,
it's exhausting.
Move it into alignment with the rest of the SCA too. We're the only kingdom with 3 reigns. So.
But it's the West.
I don't care. It doesn't mean that it's the right.
I'm gonna put my. Where's my lightning power?
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's like I think that that there's obviously a lot of room for improvement. That's one of the cool things about coming to the West from a kingdom like that didn't start is like it's very obvious to me a lot of the places where we have things that are held over, right? And they're held over for a good reason, right? But things as places got developed, and our kingdoms got developed, like they got to iterate on the things that the West created, and that doesn't make our things wrong.
Sure.
It just also doesn't make them perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Is what I would say. But yeah, I would totally go to 6-month reigns because I think it would make everyone way less tired.
I don't know. I'm just really torn about that one. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's actually not that much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, your princes and princesses all do 6-month reigns. Like I did one.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So next question, or Kat, do you want to answer, elaborate or anything? I think you did kind of give an answer.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so this next one's from a Nani Mouse.
Nani Mouse.
Anonymous question. There is always one or several persons in the society that you always refer to in high regard. An example being someone you mainly call by their titles, such as master or mistress. Who are those people and what makes that relationship special to you? Hint, it's never just one thing.
I'm going to say His Grace League, because I always say Your Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him when I joined the SDA.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had some disagreements and some agreements on bardic things, but I respect him and I respect what he does as an artist. Mm-hmm. And what he's done for the SDA in general. So yeah, His Grace is always His Grace to me. Is there anybody else?
You know, it's hard because the West Kingdom is a very like blasé, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really use titles, honorifics, and so when you do, it actually it's a really kind of, it stands out for those people. So, Syele, what about you?
So for me, like, it's a hard one, like you said, because of what you just literally said, is that we don't always use the titles.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, like, I get why we don't. It does sometimes bum me out a little bit, not for myself, but more for, I remember being like the wide-eyed, like, newbie and seeing people like pay special attention to others. But honestly, like, there are two that I would say. One is Matt, Duke Matthias.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was one of the first kings I ever met in the SCA. And by the way, he looked like freaking Aragorn, right? Like, I was all like, of course you're the king. Like, who else would be the king, right? I mean, and then I learned, like, lots of people was the answer. But the other one, and this doesn't have anything to do with a title, is Steffi, is Viscountess Stefana. And it had nothing to do with me, utilizing her title. It was just like, she, you hear some people talk about, well, so-and-so is always an example of grace and courtesy to me. And Stefana always did that while still being an example of fun and joy, right? And I just, there was never a moment that I can remember where I didn't look at her and think about what made me happy about the SCA. And I think that there's a lot of that lacking at times, And so for me, it would absolutely, Matthias was just this, Atenvelt has this cool award called the Lion of Atenvelt. And it's given once a reign by the king, and it's to be given to the person that king, and it is the king's award, or the sovereign's award, I should say. And that award is to be given to the person who, to the sovereign, is the example of what a person in the SCA should be. Like, this is someone that you should look up to, as an example of what you could be, how you could behave, like how, this is, I don't really personally, and you're all welcome to it, but like, I don't really like the term the dream. But like, that's the best way to describe, like, this is what the SCA is to me. This person exemplifies it, right? And Matt was 1,000,000% that. Like, Matthias was just such an amazing human, and so was Stefana. And like, I hate to think that the two people I've named are my heroes, or are looking, down with other heroes on me from the stars. But, those are the two, I think, that would answer this question for me.
I think for me, it's actually a lady who I think she operates very, very much under the radar. I know she operated very much under my radar for a long time, and I didn't really know who she was. She was a Laurel, and she is a lovely human being, but she's so very low key that until literally she was making my Laurel scroll. I had no idea who she was, and that's Mistress Robin of Thornwood. And I don't think I've ever called anyone by their title just in a, like in an everyday kind of casual conversation, the way I do with her. And it's just, there's so much respect for this woman and her art, and she's just a delight. She's a wonderful person. And I kind of feel like if anybody deserves to be called by their title and, honored for their art and their contribution, it should be someone like her. And I'm getting kind of teared up about it because I just think she's such a wonderful person, and she just does amazing art, and she's so giving and kind to the kingdom. And all she wants to do is paint and make pretty things, and she's very happy doing that. But and my ambition in life is to actually own eventually one of her prints. She actually does nature, like kind of like Audubon Society style nature paintings of flora and fauna, and she's even had her work on like stamps and stuff. So she's like a legit artist. Like, she's really cool. But she's also just a lovely person and a real sweetheart. And yeah, she's like kind of the only person I can think of that I actually call like by her title and address her as Mistress Robin. And then she does it back to me. She calls me Mistress Tulia, and it just cracks me up because I'm like, no, I'm not.
Then you're all like,
I know. I kind of get a little like, she's the only one who does that, and that's the only time that I'm like, oh, shut up.
Girl, like, I feel very censored now.
But yeah. So I'd say that that's probably for me. I mean, other than that, like I do refer to those that reign, that are sitting the coronets or the crowns on the throne. Of course, they get Your Highness, Your Majesty.
Well, Yeah. But if you don't do that, you're kind of just being a dick.
Yeah, exactly. And remember that Society for the Prevention of Dickery.
My new committee.
Yeah.
For the abolition of dickery.
Yeah. All righty. Let's see. Next question.
We have, I did have one important bonus question that got through.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Where did it go? Hold on. So this one is for you, Katla. Aside from Fabian, who is the coolest, most amusing, disgustingly talented member of House Schwetz again, and why is it Carius?
My immediate answer would probably be Alishka.
Oh, denied.
That's the right answer, by the way.
Well, I was going to say, hey, chill out, boys. I was going to say that Alishka to me is the epitome of grace and kindness and everything anyway. When we were talking about the last question, I was going to throw that in, but this is a perfect place. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
She's so talented, and she's so kind, and she's so giving.
She's so patient.
Yeah. And she wrangles Fabian, so that's impressive.
Wrangles Carius.
Well, let's see. I would go with Ellie too. Why not?
Our household's pretty bitchin'.
Yeah.
True.
We have a lot of really good people in that household. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to pick. I don't know. There's so many good options in House von Schwetzigen. I mean, for technology purposes, I'm going to pick Carius, but I'm going to go with Casa Giordano.
Oh.
You have 3 peers under the same roof, all of whom inspire me on the daily. So how can I go wrong with that pick?
Yeah. So Carius, just so you know.
Yeah, Carius, did you want to choose someone?
Well, I was going to say curious comes from a good line. So it's so hard to pick. But obviously the choice is curious for.
Yes. And
all
why
of
is
the
it curious? Because he is wonderful and
Yes.
perfect and amazing.
Well, and he's very, he too is very giving and very generous with his time and knowledge. And I don't know how many times I've had like a computer problem and I've been like, ah! And Curious is like, I got you. Yeah. So,
He sits in his office and is like, I sense a disturbance in the force.
yeah, exactly.
One of my chosen family has totally screwed something up.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
of them is it?
So, and especially all of the work that he does on this show behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
He is technomancer. So now have we
Yeah, now-
sufficiently just propped you up and made you feel
Showed
like
you the
super
love.
loved? He's wiping a tear from his eye. All righty. Okay,
So the last actual question
Yeah.
is from Crystal. And I think this is a great one. Would you rather sing in court or by a campfire? And what would you sing?
also you're allowed to sing it if you want.
We were not prepared for that part of the evening.
Uh-oh.
What would you do with the drunken? Curious, what would you do with the
I really dig singing in court because usually there's a reason for it. I mean, either it's an invocation or it's a coronation, and a lot of other bards will be like, yeah, but everything's the same. It's always like the same words you want to use. Do good, be awesome on the field, don't be a dick. So I kind of like singing in court. I have written songs for some really cool people who have reigned. But campfire wise, I'm like, of course I want to be sitting around with you two knuckleheads singing songs in camp. Are you high? Come on. Yeah, no, you. I mean, it's like, what? The brother and I must sing. So yeah, no. Drink. Yeah, both have their amazing benefits, but
Yeah.
What about you, Tulia?
Let's see. I would say, yeah, singing in court. I haven't done it in years, so I'm out of practice there. But I'm not like practice. I'm just out of the habit. But I really prefer singing around the campfire. That's my favorite activity. Late night at an SCA event. Yep. And being with my two buddies here, and somebody has to bust out with, usually it's Syele. She just starts like singing something, like she can riff on a song almost unlike anybody else I've ever known. It's just that it's out of her lips and it's gone. So if you're not like there recording it or like taking active notes, the genius is only in that moment. It's ephemeral. It's like it's this magical instance where everybody's just jaws drop, like, what the heck was that? And she's like, I don't know.
I just made it up.
Yeah.
Did one of you write that down?
I was just thinking about that actually the other day, or today, actually, I was getting ready for the show, and I had Leave Her, Johnny, Leave Her was stuck in my head. And I was remembering when Syele, me and Alfar and Kiffany was recording us, or Kettley, sorry. Kettley was recording us, and it was really just, it was Syele just, filking essentially in the moment to Leave Her, Johnny, Leave Her. And Alfar and I kind of like trying to catch up, and Alfar was doing a better job of like contributing lyrics, and I'm just sitting back there like, I'm just here to sing,
Yeah,
right, man.
We were at it was at a Mists investiture, and that we discovered that there was this sort of like downstairs portion of the site that had really amazing.
Oh, it wasn't an investiture. I think it was actually Croston Ball.
Maybe. I don't. Yeah, it was Croston Ball, because that was where we went partying with Ob's Coronet.
Yep.
But Alfar, like, we made that whole song was about a lot of it came from Alfar, because Sir John Fitzrolf's van was just in a perpetual state of death. And so it was like, because the tires are shot and the tranny is blown, and it's time for you to leave her.
Leave her, Sir John, leave her.
Yeah, and it was all about his truck, actually.
Yeah.
That was an amazing moment in time,
Yeah.
So
yeah, just like singing. I
I
like
like
singing with my peeps.
Yeah, I like both of them. Like the cool thing about like what Katla said, like I like making court more interesting. I don't like I am not a bard who does captive audience theater, and we have a lot of those in the SEA, which totally bums me out because yes, if you have an opportunity to sing in court, you should totally do everything that you can to make it amazing, but you don't need that to last for 20 minutes. Right. So, be efficient, like sort of be a ninja.
Yeah.
Like no, baby ninja didn't look up, I see. Go in, do what you need to get done, but like go large impact, short time span is my kind of preferred court methodology. Whereas around the campfire, it's like you never know who's going to show up, and that's one of the things I really love about like having the Danelaw camp is, our friends from Ontario show up. Like Ulf will bring his guitar out, and first we're sitting there like singing SCA things about the day that happened, and the next thing you know, we're having like a Stan Rogers fest, and now Kat and I are singing Irish trad, and I'm like, oh, Connell showed up. I have to sing, Green Fields of France, because then he'll start crying like a girl, and it's all great. But it's, for me, it's more like you blend the singing around the fabric of the people that you're with, right? So
Yeah,
that's sort of how I look at it. Court is a job. The fire is more of a joy, and the job does have its own joy. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's more joy for everyone, whereas the fire is more like joy for you and your close friends.
All right. Well, if anybody wants to sing something, I mean, this would be like an optimal time to like throw down.
Yeah, no, I'm unprepared, woefully unprepared.
Okay. Syele?
I don't know. Like, I mean, like, who likes drinking songs?
Probably me.
just me? Are you sure?
I don't know.
I don't know. By the way, that's one of my favorite profanes. Sorry, where I'm sitting, there are very loud birds outside. They're not turkeys, by the way. They're parrots. I'm all like, what in the?
And meanwhile, I have my kitten is just like demolishing a box right now in the background, and I'm trying to keep her.
Baby butthole or 17 buttholes?
Baby butthole.
By the way, Tulia has 2 kittens.
Yeah.
One is large and one is small. And they are both buttholes.
They are buttholes, yes.
Let's see. I mean, I can sing something real quick. Just pull up a thing.
Sure.
All that is gold doesn't come from the earth. Some precious metals are a good soul's worth. All silver treasure doesn't come from the ground. Some of life's greatest gifts are made of sweet sound. Silver is her tongue, all homage to her sing. A laurel of the west, our cat comes to her king. First comes La Serena, the caller on the waves, the singer of the greatest deeds of an eternity day. Beware the siren's song, for when it echoes o'er the land, and he blessed to hear it is enchanted by her hand. Next comes the raven girl who flies on darkest wings. Praise to the black swan, her first songs did sing. A raven full of memory, of strength and wit and thought, known also as a pelican for service that she sought. Silver is her tongue, all homage to her sing. A laurel of the west, our cat comes to her king. Now comes the wolf, the stalker of the night. All can see the glory of her fierce and primal might. A master to her core, here love Loki's child stands before the western throne to take her wreath from Thorfinn's hands. Silver is her tongue, all homage to her sing. A laurel of the west, our cat comes to her king.
That's the song my brother wrote me when I became a laurel. It was awesome.
Beautiful song.
It's so cool.
When I was all like, I'm going to walk away from this for 6 hours of Skyrim because fuck this song.
Yeah.
You did it.
Like if you are on the path, like if you are on the path of wanting to create music for the SCA, and you do not have to want to be a laurel, by the way, to do this, and something is fighting you every step of the way, just walk away from it for a little bit.
Yep. That's all you need to do.
Just set it down, dude. Like,
well,
love
maybe
your
maybe we'll have another song in a second after recovering from that amazing song. But we've got more questions, submitted questions. What?
Ooh.
What?
I said, whoa.
Oh,
I
yeah.
see.
Yes. So we have one this is from Bjorn of the Northern Sea in Kaid. Question: in your experience, is it more difficult to be recognized at the societal level for the more ephemeral arts than it is for more static displays? Why? Why not?
Oh God! Hey! Shut up, dogs. Yes, yes, it is. They're like, okay, the very visual arts are costuming, calligraphy and illumination, cooking, and then you've got performing arts, and it's just like this whole, I don't know. Is this really period? And it's like are you doing all period music? Are you doing SCA written music? I think it is, or it has been, more difficult to be recognized for bardic music. That has changed a little bit in the last year or two. There are more bardic laurels being created, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, it can be kind of hard.
Yeah.
I know you guys have to say. I know y'all got to say.
So it's interesting. This is possibly an additional bath bomb. So one of the things that I think people, and it's before my beloved Mistress Sayun moved south to Kaid, she was the Western Arts and Sciences Minister. And something we started talking about is the fact that, it's very lovely for us to have arts and sciences competitions and displays, right? I should say displays more than. We have displays, right? And it's great, but that does not leave room for anybody who is at all interested in any sort of performative art to share their work, with the class, as it were. Yeah. So for me, I absolutely think it is harder to be recognized for any sort of a performing or demonstrative art. When I say demonstrative, like you need to see what I am doing, right? I know, I think it was somewhat of a challenge for Ghislaine because she wanted to show some of the divination techniques that she was studying, right? Those were, I hate to say interesting enough, but I'm going to use it. They were interesting enough that people would be like, she's doing what? I'm going to go look at this. That's whatever. What is this? In the West, particularly, one of the big kind of challenge areas I see is that we make our bardic offices very long, which means that anybody in a performing art, we have a huge problem with burnout right now. And it's not just the West, it's the entire freaking society. If your big opportunity to be noticed as a performer is to take on an office that is going to require you to perform for a year without knowing who you're going to be working with as your royalty and nobility, I don't feel like that is setting our performing artists up for success. We also don't have a very strong bardic circle culture frankly. People go, why don't we have bardic circles? And I say, well, host one. Do you have a fire? Tell people you want them to come and sing to you, right? You know, it is on all of us to encourage the performing arts. I think, however, that there is a lot of work to be done for people to be able to be recognized for the work that they're doing. Because frankly, you know, I had not the greatest experience. Like, we had the Wreath of Athena and the virtual crown. You know, I put my website out there. I'm like, all of my songs are up there. You can all go look. And if you want to hear something, like, freaking ping me. You know, we'll set up a time. I will sing you a song. It'll be great. But, you know, somebody kind of rules lawyered that, which was weird, but whatever. Performing arts does not have a space virtually unless it is a dedicated space. And if you do not tell like Laurel's, hey, performing artists want to show you what they've been up to. You need to join this thing. Like, how are they going to know? I mean, it's kind of not easy for folks in that space. And it's not just bards, you know, it's people who do, you know, storytelling. It's people who are interested in some of the more like, you know, I know Ghislaine did her divination stuff. Santiago with like period magics and tricks and things like that. Like, there are a lot of different areas of people who have really interesting arts to share, and people just aren't looking at them right now.
It's a little bit more difficult right now because we're online. Because otherwise, it's like, okay, if you're going to have an artisan's display, have everybody display their stuff, put this little corner over here as a stage, and then put times when each person is going to present their deal. You know, which, you know, whether it's storytelling or bardic or whatever, music or whatever it is. Then that's, I mean, that's the only way I could think of to do it as a artisan's display, to include period, you know, not period.
Same, but also like if you know, the Laurels aren't, you know, everybody has their own level of burnout, right, in the middle of a pandemic. And I don't think it's fair necessarily to say, hey, entire Laurel Council, they're performing artists who want you to be aware of what they're doing. So you need to join our Zoom from 1 to 2 p.m., right, to listen in. Like, honestly, you're kind of setting those performers up for failure.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is. And honestly, there isn't a good answer, by the way, when we were in person either.
Yeah.
Like, and I do think that's a problem. Like, we need more spaces that highlight the performing arts without carrying a year-long title, at least in our kingdom, would be my suggestion. But
yeah, sorry about the weird internet connection, guys. I do think it is harder, absolutely harder, for those that don't practice you know, pick it up and hold it art. And for all the reasons that these two said, I can't put it any better, except for that, yeah, the council does need to figure its shit out and figure out how to meet halfway, I think, because they're putting it out there. It is being done. It is in the, you know, there's music happening everywhere. And we are not doing our best as a council. I'm speaking specifically as the Western Council. This is not true across the board, I'm sure, but, you know, I'm speaking only for the council that I sit on and the kingdom that I live in. Yeah, we need to do better. It's a fact. It is a fact. And there's a lot of things we need to do better in general, but specifically bardic is one of those things that's very, very, very hard. Music, another, you know, aspect of, you know, the arts, the way they're practiced in the West Kingdom. But yeah, we need to figure it out.
Well, it's a hard question. I mean, I don't have any umbrage about like the council like not having figured out. I just know like I think I was Bard of the West when Sayun was arts and sciences, and she was like, what should I do? And I'm like, well, I don't know, because you can't, like, during a crown, right, you can't ask like the whole Laurel Council to go like listen to 10 people sing, right, or whatever it is.
Why not?
You know? Well, I mean, you could, right, but how many are going to show up? I mean, and but that's kind of a different question. I just think like we have the opportunity now with as much technology as we've explored, like there must be better ways that we can expose people to the performing arts in a more digestible fashion that doesn't require a very specific time zone. I mean, I don't like time slot. I just don't know what it is, right? And I didn't have that answer for Sayun, and honestly, I don't have an answer for it now. Right now, I'm just frustrated by it, honestly, and that makes it harder for me to get to a place of peace. So
yeah, it is. It's a harder play. It's a hard conversation because there are good solutions for it. We haven't come together as a council in agreement on how it should be approached, and that is, you know, one of the major downfalls, particularly again with the West Kingdom and the way we are approaching bardic. And you'll notice that I use bardic sort of interchangeably with just musician. It's slightly there's nuances, but the way that the SCA talks about bardic music in particular, it's actually the way that our kingdom, the West Kingdom's Laurel Council, considers bardic. It's a really, really touchy subject, just in terms of how, you know, historically accurate is it? Well, it's not necessarily historically accurate. It's historically tangential. You know, we take ideas within the culture of the SCA, we take ideas in history and we apply them to the SCA. And so bardic is one of those things where you see, like the praise pieces, like a perfect example is Syele's praise piece that she wrote for Katla's Laureling. That's not a historically accurate, you know, example of, like, say 13th century Spanish whatever, you know, but it has its place and its validity within the culture of the SCA and how we use music to elevate those around us, to praise people, to recognize people, and it's I think the Western Council went through a real weird phase particularly when I was coming back to the SCA about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 10, 15, where there was a real crackdown on this idea of bardic as a valid and viable art form that you could get laureled for, despite it having a long history on the counts, you know, of people being laureled for it. It became this weird whiplash effect where it was people who were getting their dissertation in medieval music were the people that were getting laureled and kind of making the decisions about other musicians who would get laureled. And it was propagating this idea that, well, you had to have like a master's at minimum in medieval history or medieval music before you'd even be considered, because bardic was beneath, you know, it was something that was
right. But as a laurel, I still want to see at least some period. It can't just all be bardic. There's got to be some
that's the thing. It's like there's a balance there. There's got to be that understanding of that we draw from these inspirations, but and this is what the inspirations are, but we can continue to utilize like the culture of music that we've created in the SCA as a basis for, and that's really, I mean, I come down pretty hard on that side of bardic has a place and needs to be represented and should not be like, you know, this thing that we just kind of turn our noses up because it's not historically accurate. Right. But I feel that way about pretty much every art that we do in the SCA, is that we shouldn't have this nose in the air about arts in general, and we should make it so people who use the inspiration of a historical piece have the ability to be celebrated for it. So that's my soapbox. I'm calling that one a soapbox.
So a real quick call out, Harmony in the chat, first off, thank you for being awesome and voicing your question. There is no path to becoming a bard in the SCA other than singing. And I think that Asa, Emily did a really great job of answering you. If you were out there singing and, either writing poetry or telling your story or whatever you're doing, you are absolutely a bard. We're actually speaking specifically in this question to the peerage, which is the laurel for arts and sciences. Mm-hmm. So there is no requirement that you need to hit to be considered a bard. If you're out there performing, you go rock that thing. You are a bard, you are our sister or brother or however you want to identify. Good job, keep doing it. Absolutely. And if you have questions, like there are lots of different SCA resources out there on Facebook that are groups. There's an SCA Bardic group, etc. You can find lots of resources out there. And if you need to, I'm at CLTheRose on here, CLTheRose@gmail.com. Like, feel free to email me if you would like resources about SCA Bardic. Absolutely happy to chat more with you about this if you need some local resources.
Or talk to me too.
Yes, and Katla is here. I don't think she's talked in the chat, but if you get me, you get her. Like, it's a 2-for-1 deal. You'll probably get Tulia too, like 3 for 1.
We're all here on some level.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but absolutely, like, there is no official thing that you need to. There's no box you need to check. If you're out there performing, if you're excited about performing, rock on with your bardic self. That's all I want to throw out.
I think that's awesome. And I think that we're going to wrap this up with the last question. And I want to ask it because it comes from our dear brother in arms, I guess, Logan Pathwarden, host of Ask the Knights. How do you all deal with the fact that you are all so darn gorgeous and talented? Is there a class or something?
Yes, if you pay me this amount of money, I will sell you all the secrets. That's very sweet, buddy.
Yeah, I love Logan.
Or a milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. She'd teach you. She'd have to charge.
But you'd have to charge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Logan, it's hard because you probably don't need our class. You're already so gorgeous and talented yourself that you're going to need the next level class, which yeah,
it costs extra.
Yeah, that costs way extra.
I mean, honestly, now I'm all like, basically.
I know. Good job, Logan. You made us all go, shut up. No, you. You. Okay. Well, I think on that note, we're going to wrap this up. You can always join us on the Discord chat as soon as this show is over. We will hop down to the Discord and hop into the live video chat so we can all just say hi. Okay, so I'm going to do the little outro spiel, the closing remarks. Normally, Helga does them, so I need to get on top of things here. So now that we're through the questions, do we have anything else from our co-host and guest that you guys want to add before we put a little bow on this?
There was less shenanigans than we had hoped for, but it was still really cool. We were extremely well behaved.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to do shenanigans virtually. That is one thing I've learned, is that SCA shenanigans are not as easy in the virtual environment. All right.
I think,
go ahead.
My only thing that I want to throw in there, again, if you were out there and you were a performance-minded person, there are tons of people out there who, like you, feel kind of stymied by the pandemic. So don't feel lonely, right? Reach out to your buddies. And honestly, that kind of goes for everybody. Reach out to your buddies. Like, we're all in this together. So, keep staying safe. I know there's been a lot of, kind of hubbub on the internet right now about stuff that we can or cannot do. But stay safe. If you're interested in performing arts, reach out to your local kingdom, barony, principality, bard. There are so many resources out there, and there are lots of bardic things that are going on. If you're interested, there's no reason for you not to be out there, putting your voice out there, honing your craft. So I would encourage everybody to keep those voices in tune and get them ready for when we can all be together again, is what I would throw in there.
On that note, actually, it's kind of a segues right into our request for SCA shows or events that you guys know about that you want to plug. Kat, do you have anything you'd like to shout out? Or
nobody tells me nothing. I never know what's going on. I just trying to, I pick it up from cool people like you guys.
Those damn young whippersnappers just being out there.
That's right.
What about you, Syele?
I'm going to plug live from Kaid from my dear friend, Master Leartes and Baron Bjorn of the Northern Seas. I believe they're still going once a week. It's a brief show. It's like 30 or 45 minutes. They always have a really interesting guest. They recently had, they've been going around the known world to talk about, I talked earlier about how Duke Matthias of blessed memory was a Lion of Atenvelt. And they have been talking to different kingdoms about their you're a super fucking cool guy award, well, cool person award, right? So I was on an episode I sang, but they talked to Master Avery Shaw, who is a Lion of Anstiora, different kingdom, same title, but still fucking cool. And then they also have a bardic performer. Sometimes it's me or Kat. So absolutely tune into Live from Kaid. You can find them on Facebook for a really quick little SCA pick me up and possibly learn something about our fellow kingdoms that you might not have known.
Yeah. And I was going to say, does the West Kingdom have, we don't really have a lion. We've got the Western Roll of Honor.
We have the Roll of Honor and we have the hero, but the hero is specific to martial combat and war.
Yeah.
The Roll of Honor is more of a sort of, I hate to say generic.
It's lifetime achievement award.
Yes, kind of. Yeah. Yes. But it's not a specific, you are the person.
That would be really cool if we had one of those, wouldn't it?
I know, right?
Maybe that's
what I would name it, but
well, for me, I'm gonna do the thing and plug Ask the Knights, because Logan, you just, you're so suave and you made us all blush really hard. So Logan is doing these really cool shows, and he's teamed up with Calbard from Calbard's Corner, and so they are kind of banding together and doing some cool content together. And so check out both of them, Calbard's Corner and Ask the Knights Live. And then if you're into that sort of stuff, you might as well check out SCA Coach's Corner, which have multiple shows throughout the week of different topics that are kind of just, I find actually a lot of that stuff that they discuss is really useful for pretty much anything, not just fighting. So it's always an interesting conversation. That's Duke Sean and Helga, she's also a part of it. And many, many others, a cast of millions of people who really know their stuff about fighting in the SCA. And so with that, we're going to do some commercial updates. We've got commercials. As you all know, SCA merchants, if you wish to have an ad or commercial on Between Two Peers, please contact one of us for details about how you can do that. You can follow us message us on Facebook at Between Two Peers. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with us. And please, we are happy to help put something together for you and get your stuff out there. We don't take a cut. We don't charge for it. We just want to put your work out there during the time of COVID where we're not allowed to go to events and buy your stuff in person. So we're trying to just make that a way for people that maybe watch the show to connect with you and buy your stuff. But thank you all of you for continuing to tune in and support the show. And we are still working on merch. We're going to soon eventually have more merch. What we do have is on Redbubble though. So look us up at Between Two Peers on Redbubble. And we will see you next Friday for our 52nd show. Woo. Yes, folks. We have made it an entire year doing this wacky activity every week, and sometimes more than once every week. And to celebrate this milestone, we've asked our first guest, Queen Vera of the West Kingdom, to come back on the show to chat about all the changes that have happened in the last year, and also to hopefully make up for the fact that we had no idea what we were doing when she was first on. So with that, like and follow us on Facebook at Between Two Peers to catch all of our updates, information about upcoming events, contests, general shenaniganry, and other fun stuff during the week. Your enthusiasm for the show means we're doing something right. So it has been a privilege to be with you two, Kat and Syele. Thank you so much. I love you both and I miss you, and maybe someday we'll get to hug.
Hold on. To my brother.
Oh,
Two
brother.
brothers.
Yes, brother.
All
Golden
right.
Sons for the win.
Woot.
Countdown. 3, 2, 1.